Hello, I'm Yuting. The topic of my paper is that professional development of rural preschool teachers in a rural kindergarten in Jiangsu Province, China. The outline of my presentation is as follows. Well, let's move on the first part of this topic. In recent years, the government has promulgated a series of policies to support the professional development of rural preschool teachers. However, the gap between urban and rural preschool teachers' professional development is still huge. Although scholars have conducted researches on this topic, there are few relative researches on rural preschool teachers, and these researches focus on quantitative methods, ignoring the gap between rural preschool teachers' cognition, attitude, and behavior towards professional development. Therefore, this research intends to adopt qualitative methods to deeply understand the current situation of the professional development of rural preschool teachers, analyze the main problems in their development and the causes of the problems, and put forward countermeasures and suggestions to promote the professional development. Let's move to the methods of our research. This research mainly used interview and observation. However, the two methods are not simply added together, but continuously alternate and integrate. The content of the interview includes the professional quality of rural preschool teachers, their cognition and expectation of professional development, the independent ways of professional development and external support, the difficulties of professional development and suggestions for improvement. The content of observation includes the reflection of teachers' professional quality and professional development behavior in their daily work, among which the behavior mainly includes the way and frequency of professional development. This research adopts the methods of purposive sampling and selects suitable interviews mainly according to the teaching experience, including 7 teachers and 1 head of the rural kindergarten. First of all, the researcher preliminarily understood the professional quality and behavior of the rural preschool teachers through observation, and accordingly drew up an interview outline and conducted semi-structured interviews to deeply understand the current situation. Then, the researcher verified the authenticity of the interview date through observation again and continued to understand the professional development behavior. Finally, the researcher learned about the newly discovered problems in the later observation through informal interviews. This study investigated the current situation of rural preschool teachers' professional development from the 3 dimensions: professional quality, independent professional development, and development with external support. It found that there is a gap between rural preschool teachers' cognition, attitude, and behavior for professional development. That is, they could recognize the importance of professional development, but their intention to professional independence is weak, while the intention to professional development with external support is strong, and the actual professional development behavior is deficient. This research further explored the problems and causes of their professional development from the internal and external dimensions and the 3 levels of rural preschool teachers, rural kindergartens, and the government. Firstly, the teachers lack professional knowledge and ability. Some teachers transferred from other jobs or work without certificates, so their professional development tasks are heavy. Similarly, the protection of legitimate rights and interests is insufficient. It can be seen from the interview that, compared with rural primary and secondary schools, the government does not pay enough attention to rural kindergartens, and has less financial support for them. The lack of government financial support for rural kindergartens affects the teachers' motivation for professional development. Thirdly, there is a shortage of opportunities for professional title assessment. On the one hand, the professional title assessment is held every 3 years. On the other hand, the establishment has clear requirements for age and educational background. However, many rural preschool teachers do not meet the requirements. Therefore, the prospect of professional development is narrow. Firstly, the supervision and evaluation system is unsuitable. From the perspective of government, it pays more attention to the quantity than quality, and it gives teachers the opportunity to learn for the moment by regular inspection and advanced knowledge. From the perspective of kindergartens, the supervision attitude of kindergarten's leader is lax. So, the teacher's professional development has a problem of formalism. Finally, the teachers lack professional development training. According to the interview, the professional development pace of rural preschool teachers has significantly decreased under the influence of the epidemic, mainly reflected in the aspects of going out for further study and training. Moreover, although the government has organized professional development training, there is a lack of training that meets the needs of rural preschool teachers and the actual situation in rural areas. Therefore, there are few ways of professional development. Through the analysis, it's found that the government has a more important influence on the development than the teachers themselves and the kindergartens. Finally, based on the existing programs and their courses, this study puts forward corresponding countermeasures and suggestions. Firstly, rural preschool teachers should have a clear understanding of the loopholes in professional development through external assessment and self-study reflection. And then it's necessary for kindergarten's leaders and the government to help teachers formulate the corresponding professional development plan. Similarly, the government should promote preschool education legislation, including clarify the nature and orientation of preschool education and increasing financial support for rural preschool education, so as to stimulate the teachers' motivation for professional development. Thirdly, the government should increase opportunities for professional title assessment and broaden the prospect of professional development. Firstly, the government and kindergarten's leader should improve the supervision and evaluation system. For the government, it's supposed to design more reasonable evaluation methods, which focus on the quality rather than the quantity of online learning, and increase the frequency of inspections. For example, conducting random inspections from time to time. For the rural kindergarten's leader, they should also achieve these points, because the leaders have a better understanding of the teachers and play an important role as a bridge between the teachers and the government. Finally, professional development training needs to be improved as soon as possible. In terms of training content, it is necessary to adapt to both the actual situation in rural areas and the needs of rural preschool teachers. In terms of training approach, the government and kindergartens should actively carry out practical training, because the teachers prefer to practice rather than just listen to lectures. In a word, the current situation of rural preschool teachers' professional development is not optimistic and needs to be improved urgently. This requires the joint efforts to teachers, kindergartens, and the government. That brings us to the end of my presentation. Thanks for your attention, and I'm happy to take any questions.